Hi folks, my name is Roger Klosterman, and today I am going to be talking about energy, God, Creator, Source, Consciousness. To me, all those words are the exact same thing. Consciousness. Those are just different words for the exact same thing. That is my premise. I want to be very clear about that. And I want to be clear that my premise is that consciousness is the source and the creator behind all things created. That is my premise. It runs all the way through. So if you don't accept that, you might not find this interesting, and you may not want to go any farther. But I promise that you will learn some things. I'm a bridge builder. I'm a composer. I work with the invisible and bring it to the visible. I'm very good at numbers, symbology, structure, blueprints, mechanics of how the invisible becomes visible and vice versa. Also, if you have a short attention span, you may not want to continue on. This video is going to be about an hour long. It is packed full of information. Many years ago, I used to go to the gym quite a lot. To put it in perspective, my average for bench pressing was 2¼ 25 times. Yeah. So the reason I'm mentioning that is when I went into the gym, I always stretched out for about 15 or 20 minutes at least. It takes a little time, and it's going to take we're going to warm up here. We're going to warm up, and then we're going to get into the heavy. Okay? And you might see me glance over here from time to time, and I got a lot of pics that I'm going to show because the subject matters that I'm talking about are very abstract, and I think very abstractly, but as I mentioned about the invisible to the visible, I'm very good at bridging and bringing the invisible to the visible, and the vast majority of people do not think highly abstractly, much less just average abstractly. We're very concrete. We're very compartmentalized. We're very schizoid and split. Red mirage, blue shift. We're very split. Yeah, you can go every 4 years or 2 years, whatever it is, and you can vote for your red or your blue. Anybody who understands just a little bit about physics will realize that there's much more available. But the vast majority of people are in that spectrum, intellectually, emotionally, philosophically, psychologically, you name it. Okay? Consciousness, to me, is the lightless light that shines the light of knowing on all things. Even in physics, it's called the observer effect. In spirituality and in the Bible, it's called the witness. That's what consciousness is to me, the spirit. Spirit, consciousness, and energy are the same thing in my mind. And everything I'm talking about are associations that I make. There are lots of facts that I'm going to be bringing out. The association is mine. I'm a composer. It's the way I arranged it. But it's God's information. You may not agree with it, and that's all right. Consciousness is one. Consciousness, energy is a wave. You don't realize that by now. I don't know where you've been hiding. Radio wave, water wave, electrical wave, air wave. All, you could call them currents. It's information. Consciousness is not a numerical one. It's oneness and harmony. And all those things I just named, water, air, radio wave, it's all the same energy. It's different scale degrees. It's different scale and degrees. Different crest of the same wave. I showed the zero. I showed a white dot and a black dot. In the beginning, God separated the light from the darkness. In the beginning, consciousness separated the light from the darkness. I am going to be talking primarily, I want this to be what you take with you. Image, reflections, and shadows. Now, a lot of people who've studied philosophy and are deeper thinkers will be familiar with Plato's analogy or allegory of the fire in the cave. I don't want to get lost in Plato and all that, but light and darkness, God separated the light from the darkness. Light and darkness, fire and water, it's the same thing. Don't get lost in the words. Image, reflections, and shadows. Words can be beautiful, but we get lost in them. Images, reflections, and shadows. I don't want to divert too much, but I just want to say this. We've heard the term narcissism, someone who looks in the pined away at their image in the pool of water. That has a lot to do with how we get lost. That has a lot to do with how consciousness gets lost. It goes back, I think, to the beginning when things were created, ultimately. In all steps, it's kind of abstract and deep, but that's my premise. I don't want to get into that because that could be a whole nother video in a whole nother hour. Everything I'm saying and talking about, nothing is new under the sun. There's another association. We're so compartmentalized. Sun, S-U-N, S-O-N, light, Christ. Those are the same words for the same thing. I don't believe in a literal Jesus Christ. I don't think Jesus Christ is coming back unless you look at it as the sun. The sun's coming back. Yeah, the sun walks on the water every day. The sun's coming back on the clouds every day. Just get out in the morning. If it's cloudy, you see the sun coming on the clouds. Yeah. Just keep thinking red, mirage, blue shift, light. Light plays tricks. Light and water plays tricks. Creates shadows, reflections, and images. All right? More evidence of how we are compartmentalized. A lot of this stuff is going to trigger awareness and consciousness in you, and perhaps how split and schizoid you are. Atom, how many people make that association? And even more, the atmosphere, the spheres of the atom. The spheres of the atom. Everything's radiating from the core. Energy, consciousness. Obviously, I don't think that consciousness is a construct of the different scale and degrees. I mentioned that already. Consciousness is not a construct. I'm going to repeat that over again and again, and many things I repeat over. Repetition can be good to learn something, get it through, or block heads. Loosen up that water a little bit, which is like a block. It's frozen in place. Waters are always flowing. Currents are always flowing. Yeah, a lot about being stuck. Energy is always flowing all the way to the source. Oh, I just mentioned that anyway. This is going to be about macro knowledge, big picture pattern recognition, all right? Macro knowledge, big picture pattern recognition. All you have to do is to think about that. Is think of AM, FM. AM, FM. See, there's your duality. Again, there's your split, AM, FM. Think of all the different channels. It's endless on AM and FM radio. Those are waves. AM is a wider wave, and FM has more frequency, and it just has more frequency in it, in the wave. Period. End of story. If you're into computers, think of 0 and 1s. Think of all the information that is on your computer. It comes from fundamentals, big picture, macro knowledge. I like calculus and algebra. I like those fields. I'm interested in all fields and modalities of knowledge, but I want calculus, which means small pebble. It's the study of the infinitesimally small. I just want to say calculus and algebra, all that is some people might not like to hear, but all it is the remainder. It's the details of the macro systems. Another way to look at it would be subfrequencies, trying to see what's all packed in. And I don't know where we'd be without it. It's good to question, but most people get lost in the details. If you don't have a macro, big picture understanding and pattern recognition, you'll be lost forever. Genesis, genie, Bible, Elohim. I'm going to diverge a little bit from time to time because I like to. Most people would make the association of gene with Genesis. It's pretty easy. Not too many people would think of genie, something coming out of the bottle. That's all physics is they're studying how energy moved from what they call the beginning, which the Big Bang, if you looked up did a little research, you'd find out that there really wasn't an explosion. What they're talking about, the Big Bang, they're talking about inflation and deflation. There's your male and female, your Adam and Eve, Adam light, darkness, Eve darkness, Adam light. Inflation, deflation. We're schizoid. It's off the charts. There's your 2 L's, Bible, bipedal, binocular. Elohim, Yahweh, Jehovah. Don't want to get lost in that too much, but that's not the spirit. That's not the creator source. That's an emasculated, split off aspect of creation, energy. That's why in the Hebrew scriptures, Elohim, God, Yahweh, burn you with fire, destruction, wash you away with water. I'm making the claim, well, it's not really my claim, it's actually facts. Everything is contained in these 3 symbols. We are so far from symbols, the average person is. Symbols contain massive amounts of information. My ancient ancestors used to think and go about their lives in symbols. A symbol could be a half of a book. The wave file, when you have ever been in the studio, most of you haven't, a musical wave file, my God, the information in there is colossus. Go back to 0 and 1 and AM, FM. But these 3 symbols, a vertical line, a horizontal line, and the wave, everything is there. And drive home the point that it's not my opinion. You can't look at anything. This artwork behind me, you can't look, this piece of paper it's drawn on. You can't look at anything. Hear, taste, touch, anything that doesn't have a vertical line. Every language, the numbers, nothing, 0, zilch. Go look around your house and get back with me. Which I failed to mention, I have comments disabled because I'm not interested in what most people have to say because they haven't done the research. I'm an intense person. I have studied tens and tens of thousands of hours to put this information together. Between this video is going to be on my YouTube channel, which I have my music on it. Between 2004 and 2014, I released 2 CDs. I've composed over 50 songs. In those years, just that alone, between 15 and 20,000 hours of arranging music and studying music, between 15 and 20,000 hours, just in those years alone. I'm going to be 60 years old at the end of this year. I've been playing the guitar since I've been 8. I've clocked in over 40,000 hours. Let me repeat that. I clocked in over 40,000 hours. Wrap your head around that. Increase in form is a decrease or a fall in power. We're going to be getting into a lot, but not information, because information, the information of how the universe works is contained in a seed. You familiar? Jesus said the kingdom of God is in a mustard seed. Well, the mustard seed is the atom. These are all words. Don't get lost. It's energy in motion. It's all waves. You've got to get that through your head. Energy is constantly pulsating. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. To me, and I showed you the 3 symbols, the vertical, the horizontal line, and the wave. All right. This is just a line on a piece of paper. But to me, we work with representations because this is very abstract. A horizontal line, straight line, to me represents energy at rest. Energy at rest. Some people might call it the stillness. Some people might call it the 0-point field. I'll get into that a little bit later. That line is the collapse, what I would call the collapse of energy. The collapse of, it represents the collapse of the wave. God's Sabbath. Some other names for that horizontal line, which is just a representation. See, this is compartmentalized in us. These are different fields. These fields, the 0-point field, Max Planck, the Planck field, the cosmic equator. Those are physics and astrophysics. Where's the event horizon too? Now there, the plane of inertia, that is a esoteric or a metaphysics word. The plane of inertia means the plane of equality, well, static electricity, or God's rest, or God's Sabbath. Let's move right along because there's a lot of information here. All right. Consciousness at rest, vertical line to me represents the charge. That's a powerful word right there, charge. The wave in motion. I'm just building on things, same thing, but there's your snake, your serpent. We're going to get into that in just a minute. All right, here's an association that I like drawing symbols and making connections. All right. It is my ideal that these 3 things, the Trinity, yeah, and then light passes the 3rd dimension, and then things go in, light and darkness, and then the farm really takes off. Really takes off. It's staggering, it's mystical, and it's beyond my understanding. This is macro knowledge, folks. Big picture. We get lost in the details. Repeat it over and over again. There's your cross. Oh, there's another association they don't make. It's the same thing. It is the same thing. You've heard the saying, X marks the spot. Yeah. And a T, the common symbol in Christianity, is not a true cross. We'll get into it a little bit. We're going to hammer it home. It's off 1/3. It's not a true cross. A true cross is even. It's off 1/3. Just maybe to whet your appetite a little bit. 1/3, a third of heaven fell. Yeah, just real quickly go back to God separated the light and the darkness. God, light and darkness. A third of heaven fell. I'll mention a little bit later, but there are no such things as fallen angels. There's fallen angles of energy. There's no fallen demons. No, don't see things as energy. There's a reason for that. I'll touch on it a little bit. We're going to get into, we've already talked about 0, 1, 2, duality, schizoid, 3. I'm not going to get into the numbers a whole lot because each number, it's like a a floor in a department store. Things are always coming in and coming out. There's the four gospels. There's a wave, there's a cross, consciousness. There's always a rise and a fall of energy, the wave. Always in motion, always pulsating, always. North, east, west, south. Fours all over the place. Four horsemen, four brain waves. Yeah, you got four brain waves. Most people don't experience, and I know there's a fifth one, gamma. Most people don't experience that. And if they don't maintain it. Some people experience it. They don't. It's too hard to maintain. From my studies, solid, liquid, gas, plasma. Those are the four states of energy. Those are the four states of energy. It's all over the place. This is the cross. You're made out of solid things. Your bones, liquid, it's really energy in motion, but it appears to be, it appears that way. Gas, plasma. Tell me that those four things, those four things are in you. Spring, summer, winter, fall. It just goes on and on and on. We're torn in half. We're split. Then we're triangulated. We're going to get into it. Yeah, we're quartered. Now, I kind of mentioned it. I didn't believe in a literal Jesus Christ. Once upon a time, many, many, many years ago, I did. And that's okay. I was on the path. I've been on this path ever since I've been a little boy. I knew something was not quite right. It is, but it isn't. God creates harmony and perfection and equality. But I believe that it's my thoughts. I don't really like the word believe too much. It's my thoughts that we have free will and we're playing with God's, and we'll get into it. We're playing with the things that consciousness created. Very zoomorphism, anthropomorphism, and genderization. So in all religions, it's the duality, the dualism of energy. And you see, you got Mother God, Father God, Vishnu, Shiva, the sun. We have everything there. We have mom and dad and the children. Energy in motion, and this is what happens in most religions. It's not literal. It's not literal. That's really the literal. I don't know where we'd be without it, but the literal teaching of Jesus, people need to evolve past that real quick. Real quick. And I want to say, we're created in God's image. We're made out of all the fire, water, air, earth. We're made out of those things. We're made out of we're plasma, solid, liquid, gas. All those things have the power to give life and destroy. Yep, we're created in God's image. We're so disempowered. We create and destroy all the time. All the time. Yeah, a little bit more on the literal Jesus thing. You really think the Creator, I just have this, I won't show this, no need to. The Creator of the universe, this is rhetorical. You really think the Creator of the universe needed a blood sacrifice? My God, that's primitive. Good grief. Let's see, these are just guesstimates from people who study physics and things. These are what I'm going to share with you is just guesstimates. There are 10 to the plus 17 grains of sand. These are wild guesstimates, but you know, you can take a grain of some sand and put it in a box and figure out how many are in a square foot or something, and then figure out how blah blah blah. It's 10 to the plus 17. There are 10 to the plus 22 stars in the universe. We can't even grasp that. It's so massive. What's even more amazing is there's 10 to the minus 27. We're going in the other way now, small. Things you can't see. There are 10 to the minus 27 atoms in one human body. The energy, the source, the Creator that did all that needed a blood sacrifice. I don't want to linger on that, but wow, you're gone. It's not hopeless, but wow, you're in. Energy, light, darkness, sea, which is the physics word for light. Sea, like an ocean. Seed, atom, in the kingdom of God is in the mustard seed. Atom, current, wave, water, fire, plasma, electricity, charge, and arc. Wow, there's a wave word. It's also the Ark of the Covenant. We're going to get into it. all those, everything I'm talking about, the whole universe is energy. There's another association most people won't make. Wattage. Remember, waves, current, water, air, radio, all these things can be blocked, redirected, channeled. This is how consciousness gets lost, through the reflection and the shadows and the images. But I do think we are headed towards, I diverge, the singularity. And there's myself, and there are some people who are trying to point this out to folks. We are co-creators. We're creating God's image. We are gods with lowercase g. Okay? Lot. I kind of chuckled when I was doing this. I drew a line under ATT. That might not mean anything to some people, but it's information. It's all contained in the wave. The age, what things are made out of. When we see things out in the distant space, and even atoms and stuff like that, those things are determined by the wave, what they are, whether they're solid or liquid or gas. And we can't forget that there's macro, big picture, there's so many infinite sub-frequencies. Go back to AM and FM radio if it's too abstract for you. Just think, turn on the radio and then drive 45 minutes or an hour and see what happens. This is kind of an old pic, but I just wanted to show you this. It's a picture of a diagram of the magnitude of order of things. I know it's not, I kind of put a cup of coffee on it a long time ago. It actually should be held this way. Well, that's the way they show it, but that's the order of magnitude. It's got 10 to the minus 24 to 10 to the plus 24, which is an interesting word, 24. But how many people, when they look at that, see, the instant I looked at this, I saw a wave. I saw an arc. I saw a bowl, which a wave is just, we're going to get into that a little bit. All right. I'm repeating some things. We're building on this. It's going to get really big. Well, if it hasn't been already, it's massive in just a little bit. Genesis, gene, threads. There's a computer word. But it's also can be in many other modalities, strands, currents, charge, genie. I mentioned, I'm just repeating, electricity, Bible, to electricity, elect. Yeah, go back to the red and the blue shift. Oh my goodness, you're sent to your poles, and you're playing the game. Yeah, you might not like to hear it, but you're playing the game. I'm not. I never voted in my whole life. Like I said, I knew something was up when I was a little boy. Yeah, but it took me a long time to figure out just how things get messed up. God creates harmony. We have free will, and we've been using it in a really messed up way. Real bad. You go back, man, to what I shared in the beginning. God separated the light and the darkness. God creates harmony with that. I'm a musician. I'm a composer. I use all the waves. I create harmony. What do you create? Yeah, I already know most people create division, and they don't realize it. Electricity, Tri-City, the spirit, light and darkness, three. Anyway, we got to move on. Here's something just to show some more schizoid the other day. well, not recent, in the recent past. There was someone that I ran across and they had 1111 on their fingers. And I said, what does that mean? They didn't have a clue. Virtual signaling. They had 1111 on all their fingers. They didn't have a clue. And I shared a little bit with them and blew their mind. I said, yeah, 1111, that's just the two pillars of creation. It's light and darkness. And if you take the 1111 and just turn it horizontally, it's an equal sign. But see, they're divorced. There's the two again. Oh, two forces. Divorce, two. How many people make that association? See, schizoid, schizoid, schizoid. And there's a pretty good chance that the majority of people who are listening to this video are schizoid. Like I said, I'm about halfway through my papers now, and you don't like this? If you're offended, hey, move on. Just some more wordplay. Individual, you all in divide. I'm hammering it home. Divide, individual. How many people would look at the word individual and realize that? And there's a lot fine. There's a lot more in that word that I see. I can't get into all because it would just go on and on and on and on. Remember, airwave, think in waves. Waves can be in, if you take the premise, which I do, if you take the premise that consciousness is all the way through, you will begin to you can begin to at least grasp how consciousness can be redirected. If you think of radio wave, airwave, water wave, electrical wave, how it can be penmanship, how it can be penned. It's flowing and pulsating from the source all the way to us and beyond. I do think that human beings are this is my thoughts, I do think that human beings are the epitome of God's creation. Yeah, the epitome. We are created in God's image and nothing else is. Period. Nothing. Just some more wordplay. Just reversing things. I have an ability, because of my music, I have an ability to be able to think in all kinds of directions, north, south, east, and divergent thinking, and then converge again. It's called songwriting, arranging. Just real briefly, and we should all be able to do that. Think of language. We in the English language and many other ones, we read from left to right. Here's just a little research. Well, the Middle Eastern languages, a lot of them, they read from right to left. And I believe some of the Asian languages, I don't know how they're read, but it's written like from top down. But the point being, we should be able to think in all directions. And music, the musical staff, the lower notes, the bass notes are at the bottom, and the treble notes, the higher notes are at the top. On the guitar, it's opposite. The bass notes are at the top, and the treble notes are at the bottom. So it's backwards. And I'm really good at symbols and numbers and geometry and a lot of other things. You might be thinking, man, that guy's egotistical. This just popped into my head. Yeah, I have a colossus ego. It can't be measured. My ego is so big it can't be measured. But you know what? I'm more than my ego. And I'm showing you right here. I'm the molecules and the cells. I'm more than my ego, and so are you. That's part of your problem. You're in denial. Yeah. When people say, get in touch with your ego. Oh, I don't have an ego and I'm trying to control. Baloney. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have an ego. These people are in denial. Embrace it. Embrace it. Be honest. The whole universe is pulsating. This is what science and spirituality and religion leave out. Huge, huge, huge. I could say it 1,000 more times. The whole universe was pulsating. Just like your heart and your lungs, which are really just substations. That just popped into my head. They're really substations. Yeah. The whole universe is pulsating. I think what I'm about to share with you is pretty big right here. This is now coming to 6 days, 6 nights. There's your serpent. There's your evil serpent. And you could put it this way too. See there, that's that being able to see things up and down. It could be horizontal or vertical. There's your 6 days. And these are my thoughts. These are my associations. 6 days, 6 nights. There's your serpent. There's the evil serpent. Well, 6 is a powerful number. God rested on the 7th day. This is 0-point field, energy in motion, curved light. There's your 7 bowls. A bowl. There's your ark. 7 bowls. It's mentioned in the Bible. The 7 keys of the kingdom. Yeah, the God's rest, the 7th, is one of the keys of the kingdom in my humble thoughts. Yeah, there's your evil serpent. Take a good look at that. There's the straight line, the horizontal line. Light in motion, moving away or towards consciousness, the 0-point field. There's another way of looking at 6. 6 is a beautiful number. You hear people say, oh, 666, and they're scared. Ooh, oh my goodness. Oh, the Illuminati. Oh my goodness. All the numbers are beautiful. I embrace all of them. None of them scare me at all. Period. Their energy. It's the way things work. But see, we're compartmentalized and schizoid. I will repeat it again and again and again. Because we have been so brainwashed. That's not my opinion. And lo and behold, boy, there's 6 invisible, you might call them night. You could look at it that way because you can't see them. We know they're there mathematically. There's your 6 invisible waves radiating. And lo and behold, the humans pop up and in the visible realm. This is my association, again, with 6. This is how you got here. This is how you got here. Reverse it. You're made of organs, tissue, and flesh. Get quick. Organs, tissue, and flesh. What are organs, tissue, and flesh made out of? Cells. This is physics. I just made this association with the 6 days and the 6 nights of creation. This is where science has taken us. Cells are made out of molecules. This is the microscopic world. This is the nano world. Molecules are made out of atoms. Atoms are made out of protons and electrons. These subatomic world is made out of quarks. Of course, these are all just terms that they make up because it's a wave. These are just words. These are crest of a wave. These are scales. These are degrees of a wave. This is you. This is you, folks. That's not my opinion. It popped up on the 6th day. And isn't it interesting that carbon is made out of 6, suppose it has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and mathematically 6 electrons to it? I just showed you 6 several different ways. This, I'm kind of proud of my connections here. And then I showed you this, and we're going to get into some other ways to look at it too. That 6, and oh, we pop up on the 6th, you know, and our blood is kind of like reddish, bluish, violet. Yeah. And one other thing I wanted to share about this. This is just a slight little diversion, but all these pictures of protons and neutrons and cells and things like coronavirus. In the picture you see a coronavirus. This might be, blow your mind. This might be a bombshell for you. But if you did a little research, those are all just artist renditions. They're artist renditions. Do you know that cells, molecules, atoms, and all these things right here They're beyond the color spectrum. They're beyond the red shift or the blue. You get it? Think psychologically, mentally, and emotionally, and philosophically, where most people are at. Most people don't even know that. They're all just picks, all those colors. Molecules aren't orange or green or blue. These things, that's not my opinion. They're beyond. The waves are too short. They're not in the color, what we call the color spectrum of light, which is really energy. Like I said, I have done thousands and tens of thousands of hours of research. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I just drew that. 0, center. It's kind of like a little bow tie, isn't it? Again, I just want to emphasize macro knowledge. And, I want to say this. Back to this right here. The whole universe is made out of this. Everything is made from energy, the wave fluctuation. Now, I don't want to get into it because the field's just too massive, but stars and planets are made out of the same thing. But the wave is fluctuating. Some things don't make it here. You get it? Some things don't make it. The charge don't make it here. Drive that point home. Sometimes we die in our mother's womb. These all can be seen as wombs. They birth. This could be, sometimes we die in our mother's womb and we don't make it to the pop out. Think of waves. Imagine some things don't even make it this far. All right? Macro knowledge. 6 days, 6 nights. Just associations I make. 12 apostles. We're schizoid, folks. We're split. Bad, bad, bad. Yeah. 12 months, 12 hours in a day, 12 hours a night, 12 on the clock. It's really, all these numbers add up to be 3 if you add them horizontally, which is called gematria, which gematria, yeah, it's adding horizontally. We got 12 brain waves. Yeah, you can look that up. It's 12's all over the place. It's all over the place. 12 rungs in Jacob's ladder. Yeah, 6 days, 6 nights. 12. 144,000. 12 times 12. It's the perfect, complete structure of the tabernacle of God. Those are my thoughts. 144,000 sitting on Mount Zion. It was, don't look at it literally. Don't look at it literally. There are no lines. The geographers that make lines, that's so we can navigate a little bit. The further back you go in time, there's hardly anything on the map, especially if you go back 2,000 or 3,000 years. Our mind gets filled up and directed, and we are told how to think, when to think, and what to think. There are no lines. It's energy in motion. Oh, folks, that's just, those are the 12. You can look it up yourself. I just wanted to show you that, just a little side point, and I can go lots and lots of other things. This is a little messier version of what I showed you earlier, but I wanted to bring my mind back to the pulse. And I'm not getting into the numbers, 8 a lot, but I do think that the universe works in octaves. It appears that way. Numerically, from my research, stars, numerically their cycle is 7. Yeah, it's a beautiful 7, and then they implode. What happens, well, the 8th, to me, that's kind of like a incubation period. These are all incubation periods, really. Don't get lost. It's wave. It's energy. It's pulsating. Like I said just a couple of minutes ago, some things never make it this way. Think in waves. I kind of like the term space foam a little bit, but I don't think that quite hammers it home, but I like the visual that it gives me. Space foam, you can look that up. That seems to be where a lot of physicists or the people who are really interested in this, they're at. And it's just waves, folks. It's just waves. I think electricity, an electrical charge, that's kind of what I see, but it's all contained in the wave. The electrical charge are just, it's everything that's in the wave. It's everything that's in the wave, all the branches and tree and buds and everything else, all the droplets. Yeah, we compartmentalize, we particleize, we atomize everything. It's wave, folks. You got to. I can't emphasize that enough. You have got to get it through your head that that we are consciousness. That's my premise, but it's not my premise that we are waves and the universe is waves. Go back to air wave, radio wave, water wave, arc current, electrical current. Those words are the same thing. There's a reason I diverge a little bit here, because I taught how to think, what to think, when to say it, how to say it. Oh, you failed. There's a reason we're sent to 12 years of school. There are no accidents, 12 apostles. There's a reason, because the powers that should not be in control, they like to trample. They like to trample on every wave, every scale, every degree, every one. Thinking about waves and keys and everything, and remember, if it's too abstract for you, you can get lost forever in any key of the kingdom. Any scale, any degree of the scale, you can get lost forever. Think about what I'll just glance back at it real quick. These subject matters. There's people who study this their whole life. Their whole life long, and then someone else comes along and says, no, there's people who study this. Look at this. It's not new. Look at this like an elevator or a floor. And if it's too abstract for you, think of a compartment store. Think of an apartment store with 7 floors, if that helps simplify it for you. Shipments are coming in and coming out of new things all day long. You could be shopping around on one floor the rest of your life, and you'll always find something new. Now that is something to take to the bank. How you can get lost in one key. And that's a musical term too. We're going to begin into, you could get lost in one key. You can play in one key forever and create different patterns. That's how easy it is to get messed up. Yeah. Macro knowledge, big picture. Big picture. I kind of mentioned this. I see molecules and cells. These are all part of the wave. The electrical charge, a tree. That's how I kind of see the electrical charges coming up out of the field. But it's contained within the wave. We're consciousness. Call it the observer if you want. Call it the witness. Not too many people, it's obvious when I show you this, I don't see numbers as just numbers. And there you have your primarily left brain, which is beautiful, but you've got your primary left brain university idiots. They're numb, 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 numb all day long. If you see numbers as only numbers, it will make you numb. Look around you. Symbols, become symbol literate. See, I have huge, colossus crosstalk between my two hemispheres. My left brain and my right brain create harmony. When my two hands get on the guitar, I create harmony. What do you create? Chances are you create division. You can't even go into the kitchen and boil water and realize you're playing with molecules. Yeah, that's how simple it is. Yeah, you're converting water, man, into vapor or steam. You're playing with molecules. We're playing with God's creation all day long, and we create atom bombs. There's a lot of, I'm going to get into it, there is a lot of evil. It comes from being split. There is a lot of diabolical evil in this world. Day, ray, wave. They're all the same thing. They're the same thing. Now you might be thinking, oh my goodness, is he going to go into the creationism and God, 24 literal hours? Well, you know what? Do a little research. The Hebrew word for day is yom, Y-O-M. And it just means a period of time, a contrast between light and darkness. Imagine that. Yeah, you do a little. I did the research for you, though. I study, and study some more. 7 keys of the kingdom. Kind of the 7 trumpets and the 7 bowls. Remember earlier I mentioned about ark? That's an interesting word. Ark is a wave. We're compartmentalized. Bad. A little bit more on the number 4. Radar. I think it's really important to understand feedback loops, along with the connection of how fire and water create images, reflections, and shadows. It's so important to understand that because this is how energy gets stuck, folks. And we all got a cross to bear, and we're all going to die on the cross. D is the 4th letter of the alphabet. Cube. How many people are blockheaded? Oh, here. I just want to go back to something. There's this again. That right there. Not that symbol. I think I'd get to it in a minute. That's all right. Here's a little wordplay. Universe. See, that's from being able to look at things on multiple different angles and directions. Universe, the verse, and you all. Universal. You all in the verse. We are in the universe, and the universe is in us. Get in touch with it. Me, you, I, we are the tree. We are the Christmas tree. We are the tree of life. I drew this. I just drew this. This is another way of looking at the order of magnitude. These are the time signatures and the time scales, which of the wave. Source. I accept consciousness. God is consciousness is source. And then I just flipped it over. I was like, oh, there's the crown. Earth, heart, hear, ear. Let him who has ears hear. Yeah. I know I'm making connections that the vast majority of people watching this video never even gleamed for a split second. The Earth, the Schumann frequency supposedly is about 7.83 hertz. Everything's vibration, folks. 7.83 hertz. That's the number I saw. That's an interesting number. 7, 8, and 3, if you add it horizontally, comes up to be 9. It's an octave. There's only 9 numbers, folks, in the whole universe. I mentioned in the beginning of the video, macro knowledge, big picture, pattern recognition. There's only 9 numbers. I know some people want to go up to 13. Those are beautiful too, but they just repeat themselves. And I'm here to tell you, 10 is just 0 and 1. 11 is just 2. There's your light and your darkness. It's beautiful to understand them, but it's part of Jacob's ladder. It's part of the 12. The 6 days, 6 nights, and 12. I get it. I know it. Yeah. 13 is just 4. 13 is considered a God number, but if you have 13 up, it adds up to be 4, and God materialized into matter. A cube, the Star of David. There's 6. Look how many different ways I've showed you 6. Okay, that's a beautiful symbol. Oh, I love that symbol. Another way to see 6. And there, remember I mentioned I don't believe in fallen angels? Answering the question. Spirit, God, consciousness rose. They rose up against God. No, they rose in farm. They fell in. They fell. Energy falls to become these other things. That's not my opinion. Not the information, because the information, just like a core of ice, you can, if you know how to read and decode things, just like Jesus said, the kingdom of God can be in a mustard seed. If you know how to read things, you can find the kingdom of God in any rung of Jacob's ladder. Rings true to me, Jacob's ladder. And it just so happens that a standard ladder has 12 rungs. Don't forget, though, it's important to be clear. You can get lost in any rung of that ladder. Here's another way to look at 6. These are more geometry symbols. Now, here's what I wanted to say about 3 or 4 minutes ago. And I said, oh, I knew this was coming. All right? Just take a good look at that. Now, think mentally and emotionally. How many people are here in their relationships, their business, their intimate relationships, you name it? How many people triangulate? You're beginning to see what happens when you don't bring this understanding. The world is full of people who are split. They have an image problem. There's psychology right here. Think of how many people. Have you ever heard of someone who's blockheaded? To me, this is, I turn it like this too. God is the source of all things. Coming up this way. Presto, there's the human being created on the 6th day. Got to be able to think in different directions, folks. See what happens if you're triangulating everything, or if you blockhead it. But third, this way, the 5th is the perfect will of God in heaven. God, the consciousness, created you, I think, to be some kind of balance and harmony. I can't come up with anything else. You're a collection of vibrations. You're a collection of vibrations in the song of the universe. Now, whether or not you're in tune with that, I don't like higher vibration, lower vibration. I'm going to make that clear. That is BS. They're virtual signaling. Higher vibration, lower vibration. Next time someone says that, it's like, well, last time I checked the facts. I think people don't like facts. Last time I checked the facts, man, you can't have a higher vibration without a lower vibration. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. They're virtual signaling. I can't emphasize that enough. It makes me sick. What I showed you earlier about the 1111 crowd. They don't even know what the hell they're talking about when they do that. They're virtual signaling. They have not a clue. Fallen angels, fallen angels, everything that moves from the 0 point has fallen. A short wave. Now, I will say that it's not opinion. The shorter the wave, the faster the frequency, and the closer it is to the 0 point. For what that's worth, God don't care. God can bring you on home from anywhere. Any step, any degree, any rung of the ladder. I don't believe in demons. But I do believe that people are demonic. See what a little research will do. I do think that people are demonic. D, as in like decomposed, devalued, decomposed, not composed. Monic, one, monocle, monopoly. Yeah, they're not harmonic. I prefer harmonic because you can always get back in tune. You can always do a tune-up. I don't believe in aliens. I don't believe in Bigfoot, Casper the Friendly Ghost. I don't believe in the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, or Santa Claus. But I like playing with words. I do believe that people are lying their asses off. Everything is in the house of God. The whole universe is God's body. How can there be alien? Now, it's a verb, not a noun. If you need to Rewatch this video. I'm sure you made some connections. It's aliens. It's not a noun. It's a verb. Consciousness. Yeah, there's some alienating people. Just sharing with you what I just did. And remember, that's psychological right there. It's psychological. Think of all the people who triangulate and are dualistic. Well, I'm getting ready to tie things up, and I think this is a good way to end it. We are created in God's image. We are God's children. How are we playing with what consciousness has created? We are God's with little g's. How are we playing? Most of us are schizoid. Schizoid. We are split in two. We are triangulated and on up Jacob's ladder. Most people are between, to bring it on home to the subject matter, most of us are between the red and the blue, psychologically, mentally, spiritually. Please, if you are interested in this subject, get a hold of me. This is just a tip of the iceberg of what I know. Share this with people that are interested in this subject. It's my desire to have people know who they are. I was trying through all this information to show you how you're here, who you are, how things get confused and distorted. We're God's children, and this is what we do. These are computer terms, but they're used in mechanics of all things. Now, if you take the premise, which I accept, that God is consciousness and we are consciousness, all the ways you can get blocked, redirected, channel, think of AM, FM. We do all these things, folks. Atom bombs, you name it. How are we playing? Are we playing with kindness and love? Most of us aren't. The red and the blue, just look at all the schizoid and split people. I see it every day. It staggers me. It's staggering. And I'm not holier than thou. I got problems too, but I realize this stuff. And I've been on this path. I never was content with the way things are here on Earth. I didn't adjust too well. Yeah. They want to get you to, it's messed up. But consciousness is what's distorted. That's why anything that comes, if it's split, if it's triangulated, and on up, any group think, any group, any system is going to reflect the consciousness of the individuals. That's why, man, politics, that's why industry, Hollywood, music, it's corrupt and evil because it is split. We transfer energy. Energy is stored. We transfer it. Like I mentioned earlier about being in the kitchen and boiling water. You're transferring energy. You're playing with molecules. You convert energy all day long. All day long. See, I simplify things. Macro knowledge. Big picture awareness. Pattern recognition. Don't get lost in the details. Please. Don't get lost in the details. Every tree in a forest came from one seed. You know, you're going to say, well, what came first, the seed or the tree or the chicken or the egg? And go around in circles like that. They're there at the same time. How about that? We manipulate, we interpret. There's a lot of distortion. Yeah. And we apply. There's a lot of distortion happens there because we're playing with the remainder. We don't have macro understanding of how things work. Anyway, that is it. And I just want to say that we are all God's children. We are created in God's image. How are you playing? My desire is just for people to know who they are. Possibly from my presentation, you can glean some of the mechanics, the structure, the blueprint of how things work. remember, in God, all things are one.